So the treatments, if you look at that table there, right in the middle on the left-hand column, we got a seed treatment, Cobra herbicide, N fertilizer, foliar fertilizer, antioxidant, and fungicide. So it's a lot of spraying. Yours truly gets to do so. But anyway, the sites we got for that, you got Beersford, and I have 2 different planting dates, May 14th and June 2nd. You got Aurora Dryland, May 18th. Aurora, we have irrigated, May 18th. And up here at South Shore, I did May 10th and June 7th, just see if there's any difference in planting dates between all these. So when you look at the treatments, everything, if you go back to that table there, the 2013 treatments, every one of those is missing one thing, you know, that the one that doesn't have an X in it. Now, treatment number 6 has everything and 7 has nothing, but everything else is missing 1. But the seed treatments are pretty standard nowadays. You don't see a whole lot of untreated soybean seed. But we'll have one obviously in here. We looked at this at the Southeast Farm in 2011, just with seed treatments alone, and didn't find any response there. So that's just 1 year though. But we're also looking at Cobra herbicide to burn the foliage, stun that top foliage of the plant, and hopefully to promote additional branching, because branching is not well understood with soybeans. Obviously, you know we want nodes, you know, but the branching, you know, we speculate that's a good thing. Nitrogen fertilizers, the current end recommendations of no nitrogen for beans, you know, they're based on lower price beans and older genetics. And so, I mean, with the higher yielding environment and higher price beans nowadays, maybe, you know, we are shorting them a little bit on nitrogen. So to do that, we applied half of it as urea coated with agrotane and the other half of that as ESN slower release. So that's a total of 150 pounds of N per acre. We're also looking at a foliar fertilizer that's going on about now, so maybe even tonight. So an antioxidant, which is supposed to suppress excessive ethylene. Ethylene is produced by the plant under stressful conditions, so if we can suppress that, you know, during a drought perhaps, it could lead to higher yields. So another thing, last thing we're doing is a foliar fungicide with 2 modes of action. And the one of particular interest, that mode of action, is that strobilurin, and it's actually labeled to increase plant health. So, I mean, they've maybe overused it to create plant health in some parts of the country, as there's frog eye leaf spot that's resistant to that now is developed in the southern U.S. And so we're doing 2 modes of action to do things a little better anyway. So if you flip over your page, I'll talk about some soybean planting date studies we've done here, or we've done for the past few years. We did one here last year. We just started working up here last year. So that kind of all spurred from the fact that some of the neighboring states south and east of here were putting out some literature a few years ago saying that beans should be in the ground by May 10th or you're losing yield. Well, that's usually when people are just starting, when they're getting done with corn, and typically. So, but we put some stuff out there, different maturity groups and 5 different planting dates, everything in 30-inch rows. So our maturity groups range all the way from down to 0.2 up to 3.1, just to cover the whole spectrum. And last year, you obviously tell the yields were down and, you know, low 30s there. If you look at the letter over to the right of each of those yields, if it has the same letter by it, we say there's a 95% chance that it's the same. So the 30.1 and 3129.7, those first 4, they're all the same. We're 95% certain they're the same. So the 3.1, you know, way out of the ballpark of what would normally be growing up here, only went 24 bushel last year. So when you look at the planting dates, same deal. If it's got a same letter, it's the yield, we're going to say it's the same. So when we started April 26th up here last year, and there was really no advantage to planting beans early at all. So we didn't start to see the yields drop off till between May 14th and 25th. And that's kind of a rule of thumb, you know, somewhere around that 20th of May. So it kind of reaffirms what we thought we knew. So when you go one slide over, I showed some results from our Aurora site, which is by Brookings. It's 8 miles east of Brookings. that was kind of interesting because there was actually a penalty for planting some of the beans earlier, and there was no frost or anything, that, could have hurt the beans early on. So, most likely what happened there was those beans that were planted early, they were too far along by the time we finally got some good rain in August. So when you look at our 1.6 maturity group, which is pretty typical for Brookings, we were actually hurt by that early planting date, that April 24th planting date. But when you go look over to the right to what happened with our 2.1 group, which is getting, that's kind of late for Brookings usually. You don't see too much of that. But anyway, there was no penalty there for yield penalty for planting super early with that 2.1. Likely due to the fact that by the time we got some rain in August, it came at the right time. That one wasn't as far along. So in conclusion, at Northeast Farm, the soybean yields started dropping off between May 14th and 25th, just based on last year's results. We'll have some more this year. Maturity groups 0 through 2, the real early, or the earlier stuff I should say, didn't show any yield difference at Northeast Farm, but the group 3 was lower. At Aurora, down near Brookings, there's actually a yield reduction sometimes for early planted beans. So that just occurred with the group 0s, early 1s, and mid 1s. So that about covers it for me. Does anyone have any questions?